And so this is no longer just a speculation based on some really loose information from the Shadowlands, but we are getting some legit new data in the Dragonflight beta and the pre-patch. A lot of hints how the Titans have tainted the dragons. There is a data mine book where they talked about how they are purifying dragons, their comments about how their minions are starting to get free will, and a whole bunch of things that indicate that they might just not be the good guys that we used to believe. So let's get into all the new info and discuss, are the Titans actually evil? If you guys are into trying out something really cool, Yogg-Saron Studio is a brand new user-generated content creation platform for 3D multiplayer interactive experiences. To put it simply, anyone can create and publish their own virtual experiences with very easy to use and powerful tools that you can also share with other people. The best thing about it is that literally no coding or server knowledge is required whatsoever. You can just use the components and the smart assets that Yogg-Saron Studio provides, and there are so many of them that you're never really going to run out, and the possibilities to create whatever you want are just endless. Even better, this is not just a creation platform but a multiplayer experience, as you can invite your friends, hang out with them, and even meet new people. You can try out their creation, they can try out your creation, and the possibilities are just endless. So make sure to use my link in the description below and download Yogg-Saron Studio and start creating your own personal multiplayer experience. For all of you that have followed the lore for a really long time, you might have noticed a trend that especially started around the release of the Chronicle and a bit after, and Legion as an expansion. The main victim of this trend, this change, was the entire Light and the Void storyline that became a lot more gray from the previous really black and white contrast. Originally, the Light was this super powerful force where if you believed it, it would save the world, it defeated the Lich King through the Ashbringer. It was just this crazy powerful force. However, now the Light is launching invasions into Revendreth to show their force, conquering Altered Draenor through force, silencing anyone who says the Void may not be so bad, and literally trying to force convert Illidan to become their agent. This change mainly started after the release of the Chronicle, where Blizzard went from how they originally marketed the book as the definite Bible of the Warcraft universe to, yeah guys, this is just a Titan view on things. Some of it may be true, most of it is lie, but who really knows what is the actual answer? Now, while I did say the Light and the Void had taken the brunt of most of these changes, the Titans also started getting more and more ambiguous. If you guys follow the hints from the Shadowlands and the books they released around that time, you might have caught up on this trend. We had this broker guy that traveled every part of the known universe and all these dimensions in order to learn the real truth on how the universe actually works, and he came to realize that most of the historians and academics are how to put it simply, just losers that are buying into their own propaganda, and that the truth is far from what they are preaching. He was actually even on Azeroth, and he noted how they really bought into the Titan narrative that they had laid down upon the world. The broker even said how the Titans are known liars, and how they, as the beings of order, just go across the universe and order things even if these things don't want to be ordered, and then they pretend to have created all the stuff even though they inherited it from allegedly the true creators, the first ones. When you think about it, this makes quite a bit of sense. Very few notable races on Azeroth are actually native, and even those that are native are still heavily influenced by the Titans. However, most of the races are literally just Titan Forged, which are their minions and tools that were transformed by an old god curse, and eventually all these evolved into their own races. The most notable for their contribution to history that we know of and exploring are the dwarves, which are the most heavily linked as they're literally just earthen with softer skin. So it is entirely possible that these things the dwarves have been discovering and the things they're learning from these old documents are just the things that the Titans want you to believe. Now, I'm not putting on my tinfoil hat here. There is actually brand new information directly from the Dragonflight pre-patch, as we have data mined a brand new in-game book from Uldaman, because as you may be aware, this will become relevant in the Dragonflight pre-patch. Now, this book is called Progress Report Uldaros, and it talks about well, you guessed it, the creation of Uldaman, the Titan facility on the Dragon Isles. This is a report from Tyr to Loken, the main guy of the Titan Watchers, and they discuss their goals, their plans, and how everything is going, and they reveal some really crazy new information. Tyr starts with, I'm pleased to say that the halls of infusion are now operational. Though the work of imbuing order magic into the wellspring is only beginning, I remain optimistic that the process will be effective. Already, we are detecting reduced levels of contamination. I hope your investigation into how Yogg-Saron compromised these living waters will yield answers. In the meantime, we can be assured that the evolution of another Galakrond will not be triggered by consuming unfiltered water. So, if you're kind of confused what is going on here, let me explain the context, because this is actually a really big reveal to some old lore. If you remember from the book Dawn of the Aspects, Galakrond was just a regular proto-dragon, which was their original form, but some really mysterious force corrupted him. So it turns out he started eating his own kind, creating the so-called unliving dragons, and became insanely gigantic, and then the dragons had to unite in order to defeat him, which is how they became the Aspects. Well, turns out this force is not mysterious at all. It was literally just Yogg-Saron, the old god that all you guys know of. Well, we can confirm at this point definitely. Here is what actually happened. Apparently, there was a well the dragons drank from around their place of living, which is now the Dragon Isles. Keep in mind, long ago it was all just one mega continent. Then Yogg-Saron, who had been imprisoned, somehow managed to exert his influence outside of the prison and to contaminate the drinking waters, which in turn corrupted Galakrond. However, if you watched my previous video, this is already old news. The reason I'm telling you this is because of what the Titan Watchers say afterwards. Once purification is complete, an additional benefit will be found in offering the infused water to dragonkind. By ingesting the water, or causing their eggs to absorb its effects, it should be possible to keep even the most willful dragons aligned with the Titan's philosophies. Our efforts to bring the proto-dragons in line have faced resistance, but I am formulating a strategy to speed the process along. You really need to examine this to see what the Titan Watchers are doing. Apparently, they purified the water from old god influence, but they realized, damn, this Yogg-Saron guy is turning them to their side through the water supply, so let's do the exact same thing. It's not a bad strategy after all. However, keep in mind the words they're using. They aren't enhancing proto-dragons, but they are bringing them in line, and they are facing resistance, so in order to crush this resistance, they are creating a strategy. Furthermore, they're not only getting the dragons to ingest the water, but they're causing their eggs to absorb its effects, which I'm not sure how exactly they're doing this. So to me, this is clear proof that these guys are not exactly benevolent. Keep in mind, this is their private conversation, their private letter, so they're not trying to be politically correct. If they're only evolving and providing gifts, they wouldn't need to use force and to spike the waters in order to get them to work with them. If they really were the good guys, why would they have to align them to the Titan's philosophies through force? Furthermore, there are more lines that go along with this. Though the station is designated Uldaman, I must reluctantly report that the dragons have taken to calling the structure by the name Tyrhold. I will do my best to ensure our Titan Forge workforce does not also adopt this embarrassing pseudonym, but as of late, they seem to be expressing more and more opinions of their own. This is a really interesting one as well. Tyr seems kind of embarrassed that they're using his name to call the facility. However, the language he uses in these lines gives us further hints. He doesn't explicitly say that he's against the Titan Forge expressing their opinions of their own, but seeing that he plans to do his best to ensure that they don't do this does imply that he doesn't really like how they're getting free will and doing whatever they want. This is further exemplified with the fact that he just calls them workforce, not exactly his brothers or his people, meaning that he does see them as minions. And keep in mind, most of the current playable races, probably some races you're playing, are tied to the Titan Forge, which could be a big hint that we are this workforce. Then the letter ends with him talking about how he disagrees with Odin, who says that the dragons are unsuitable to protect Azeroth, and he says this: I have every confidence that they will prove fervent allies on our shared goals of keeping the world structured and disciplined. This, in my opinion, is yet another hint. Here, he calls the dragon allies, but he uses the sort of brainwashing you would expect from the Titans, saying that the world needs to be kept structured and disciplined. Keep in mind, to the beings of order, anything that is not structured or disciplined is evil, and they really seem to be pushing their own agenda across the universe. So I leave it to you guys to draw the conclusions, but for me this honestly seems like Blizzard is setting up the Titans to become villains, or if not villains, definitely not our great allies or the benevolent creators that we believe them to be in the past. A similar thing was done in Legion with the Light. They didn't really turn into major bad guys, but we got further and further hints, such as the time they invaded Dragonflight in order to express their own strength, and the time they corrupted Illidan. I'm guessing a similar thing could be done with the Titans, and we may have to divorce our ties to them and realize that maybe these guys created a black empire on Azeroth of their own. It is just that it wasn't nearly as chaotic as the old god one, so we evolved with it, but they nonetheless conquered us and just got us to serve them. This might also tie in with Sylvanas talking about how we never had free will back in Shadowlands. While I think this can definitely turn out to be really interesting, the only thing I don't really like about this is it does kind of feel a bit shoehorned in the old lore. I'm pretty much certain that Blizzard never actually had these ideas in mind, and that they're kinda retroactively changing the Titans as figures. Thank you for watching. Check out who are the most powerful rogues by clicking on the screen, and check out Doran's Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.